The night above Earth was never truly dark. Thousands of satellites and stations circled silently, shining faint reflections of sunlight drifting like a swarm of mechanical fireflies. But among them, hidden carefully in the black shadow beyond, the reach of city radars, something far larger drifted. At first it seemed like broken wreckage, a forgotten relic of some old space mission, tumbling slowly in orbit. But when the sun's rays touched it for a few seconds, the object did not scatter light like metal. It pulsed like skin. And then it shifted, ever so slightly, as if it was breathing. The station operators on the ground did not notice.
Out there.
Radar skipped over the readings because the shape was cloaked by fields of interference. Only one technician, a young woman named Lien, caught the strange blip during her late-night scan. She leaned closer to her screen, frowning at the enormous outline. "That's not a satellite," she whispered to herself. It was far too big, stretching wider than any station ever built, and its surface changed like a living thing. But when she tried to zoom in, the image collapsed into static. She reported it, and within hours her message was locked under the highest clearance levels. The world was not told. Instead, the Hunters were called. The Hunters were not a normal military unit. They were formed for events that governments could not explain or admit. They carried no flags, no public history, only shadows. When the alert came in, they moved fast. Their leader, Commander Holt, watched the fragmented radar images while inside the control room of their black transport. His jaw clenched as he saw the size. "That's bigger than a carrier," he muttered, "and it's alive." Round him his crew fell silent. Even for them, this was new. Hours later, their ship rose above Earth, crossing into the black silence of orbit. From the viewport, the planet glowed blue and fragile beneath them, clouds drifting like slow breaths. But Holt's eyes were on the dark side, where the readings said the object floated. For minutes they saw nothing. The stars glittered sharp and cold. Satellites drifted on their paths. Everything looked normal. Then the shadow appeared. At first, it was only an absence, a hole where stars should have been. A great curved shape blocked them out, stretching across the black. As the hunter's ship adjusted position, faint lines emerged, massive ridges like scales, shimmering with dim reflections. Holt's heart skipped as he realized it was not drifting wreckage. It was shaped, built by nature, not machines. He whispered, almost unwilling to believe his own words. "It's a beast." The thing floated in silence, unmoving except for a slow ripple through its body. Its form was impossible to take in at once, too vast, like an ancient leviathan stranded. Above the earth, its surface glimmered faintly, and here and there, they saw pulses like veins carrying fire deep beneath its skin. The hunter's sensors recorded faint patterns, like a heartbeat echoing through space. The crew stared, breathless. No one had seen a living creature of such size. The mind tried to deny it, to claim it was metal, stone, something dead. The more they watched, the more alive it seemed. Its skin shifted as though reacting to light. Its ridges expanded and contracted. Its massive body almost invisible, except for flashes of unnatural brightness. Where did it come from? One of the pilots asked quietly. No one answered. The hunters prepared a probe. The small drone detached from the ship and glided toward the massive shadow. Cameras whirred, signals blinked, and the control screens filled with static, then fragments of strange textures, as though the beast's skin itself was made of shifting storms. Then the probe sent back a soundless pulse. The crew froze. Signal repeated, in a rhythm too steady to be random. A beat like a heart. A second later, the probe shattered. No light, no blast, no weapon. It was just gone, fragments spinning. Off into orbit. The echo of that heartbeat remained on their instruments. "Shut it down," Holt ordered, but his voice was heavy. His crew looked at him, some pale, some shaking. No one had words for what they had just witnessed. For a long moment, silence filled the ship. Outside, the beast floated as if asleep, untouched by the probe's death, waiting. The earth below turned, unaware, cities glowing in peaceful ignorance. Holt stared at the shape, and he felt something ancient stir in his chest. This thing was not new. It was not an accident. It had been here before. He remembered the old files, the forgotten projects humans had once buried, experiments to tame the very power of stars, whispers of living engines that never should have been. He wondered if this was one of them, hidden here, locked away above. Earth so no one would ever know. He turned to his crew. "We keep this off the books. No leaks, no reports to open channels. If the public finds out, panic will tear everything apart." His voice was calm but cold. "We are hunters. We contain. Or we kill." But in the dark beyond the viewport, the beast stirred again. Its vast ridges flexed, and for a brief moment, its eyes opened. Twin orbs of burning gold glared at them, brighter than the stars, burning into the minds of every hunter aboard. As quickly as they appeared, the eyes shut, and the beast went still once more. The crew gasped for air, as if the very sight had stolen their breath. Holt gripped the console with white knuckles, refusing to show fear, but his heart raced. He had no doubt now. The beast was alive, it was aware, and it was waiting far below. Earth kept spinning, blind to the silent terror hidden in its orbit. The hunters did not sleep that night. Their ship stayed locked in silent orbit, its lights dimmed, drifting like a ghost beside the shadow where the beast floated.
Oh, no one dared
turn away from the viewports. Even when the beast looked still, they could feel it. A pressure in the air, a rhythm in their bones, something that whispered through their blood like a second heartbeat. Commander Holt kept his face hard, but his thoughts were racing. He had seen war machines tear planets apart, but this was different. This was alive. And worse, it had purpose. The way it looked at them proved it was not just an animal drifting through space. It knew they were there. It was watching. The hunters had only fragments of information from old black files, and even those were vague. The words circled in Holt's mind, "Do not wake it." He wanted answers, but the files gave only shadows. The beast had been hidden here by humans long ago, sealed in orbit with technology no one used anymore. Whoever did it had been careful enough to bury the truth deep. But if it was chained, Holt wondered, why was it stirring now? Commander said Leanne, the technician who had first seen the anomaly. She was pale, eyes wide as she studied her. "Console, its pulse is getting stronger. The readings are. It's like it's waking up." Her voice trembled. "It's been asleep for centuries." Holt leaned over her shoulder. The screen pulsed with waves, sharp and rhythmic, like a drum beat. Each wave rattled their instruments, bending signals across nearby satellites. Already, communication with Earth was flickering in and out. Civilian stations were reporting solar interference. No one suspected the real cause. "We need more data," Holt said. He ordered another probe launched, smaller this time, armed, only with sensors. The crew argued, some saying it was too dangerous, others insisting they needed to understand what they were facing. Holt silenced them with a glare. "If we don't know what it is, we cannot kill it. And if we cannot kill it, we cannot protect Earth." The probe drifted forward, its tiny lights blinking against the black. The hunters watched the screens as its cameras drew close. At first, the beast's surface looked like endless ridges of stone, dark and broken. But when the probe scanned deeper, the images shifted. Beneath the ridges flowed rivers of light, veins of molten fire pulsing in patterns. The creature's body was not flesh as humans understood it. It was something else, a living fusion of matter and energy, like a star trying to take shape. Then the probe caught something stranger. A structure. Metallic ring embedded against the beast's side, old and corroded, glowing faintly with human-made markings. The signal feed shook as the probe circled closer. Everyone leaned forward. There was no doubt now. Humans had been here before. They had placed something on the beast. Maybe to hold it, maybe to monitor it. The probe's feed zoomed in, and they could read the markings at last. In faded letters it said, "Do not wake." The moment the words appeared, the signal cut. The screens went black. A loud crack tore through the ship as the probe was destroyed in silence, ripped apart by an invisible wave. The crew staggered as the ship itself rattled, lights flickering. A deep vibration passed through the hull like the growl of something, too massive to be heard with ears. The beast was awake. For the first time, its entire body shifted. Slowly, impossibly, it uncoiled in orbit, stretching across the void. Its ridges flared, reflecting starlight, and a shimmer passed across its body like scales catching fire. The hunters saw its form clearly now, and terror gripped them. It was larger than they had ever imagined, longer than whole cities, a living fortress of light and shadow. Then came the signal. It was not a sound, not truly. It was an electromagnetic pulse that every screen, every console, every implant in their skulls carried at once. It was not words, yet it was a message, a rhythm, heavy and ancient, crashing into their minds. The hunters gasped as they felt it echo in their thoughts. The beast was speaking in the only way it could, and the message was clear. You chained me, crew members. Stumbled back, clutching their heads. Some shouted, some cried out. No. One of them collapsed to the floor, whispering words they did not understand. As though repeating the beast's ancient language, Holt's hands gripped the console, fighting to keep control. His voice cut through the chaos. Stay sharp. It's testing us. But inside, Holt was shaken. The beast knew them. It remembered. The communications officer struggled to stabilize signals, sweat dripping down her face. Sir, Earth stations are reporting failures everywhere. GPS, satellites, even weather networks. They think it's a solar flare, but it's not. It's all coming from it. Keep it hidden, Holt ordered. If the world finds out, panic will destroy more than the beast ever could. But in his heart, he wondered if that choice was still in their hands. The creature was awake, its signals reaching the entire planet. Civilians were already dreaming strange things, hearing phantom beats in their sleep. News anchors spoke nervously of cosmic disturbances, and above them all, the beast floated, stretching wider, shaking the sky with its pulse. In the silence of the ship, Holt looked at his crew. Their eyes were filled with fear, but behind the fear was something else. Wonder. This was proof that humans had once touched power far beyond themselves. They had made this, or they had captured it. Either way, it belonged to human history, a buried truth rising again. Holt felt the weight of command press harder than ever. His mission was simple on paper: contain or kill. But now he saw the reality. The beast was not an enemy in the way they understood. It was a weapon, a relic, a secret too big for Earth. If it could be controlled, humanity would leap centuries ahead. If it could not, then it would end everything. The beast's pulse echoed again, shaking their bones, shaking the planet. Holt whispered the words he had read on the wreckage. Do not wake it. But it was already too late. The beast did not move at first. It floated in the dark above Earth, like a forgotten mountain drifting in silence. But after the second probe was destroyed, after its pulse spread through every system, the hunters felt it begin to stir at first. It was only a shiver, a ripple through its massive ridges. Holt saw it from the viewport, the faint shimmer sliding across its surface like scales catching light. Then came the soundless vibration, low and steady, pressing into the ship's hull, into their bones. It was not just movement, it was life. Awakening, the crew held their breath as the enormous body slowly stretched. The stars behind it blinked out, swallowed by the shadow of its rising form. Lines of fire rippled beneath its skin, glowing veins tracing patterns across its body. It looked less like flesh and more like a living forge, a furnace bound in muscle and stone. Its heartbeat was no longer faint. It thundered now, strong enough to rattle every console, every tooth in their jaws. Leanne whispered without realizing. She spoke. It's alive. My God, it's alive. The beast opened one eye. Golden fire blazed in the dark, brighter than any satellite, larger than their entire ship. The hunters froze, caught in its gaze. It was not the stare of an animal. It was intelligent, old, patient, and aware. Holt's chest tightened as he felt the weight of it pressing against his mind. He had faced fleets of enemies, But nothing had ever looked at him like this, as if he was nothing more than an insect. Then the power surged. Across Earth, systems began to fail. Satellites blinked out one by one, their circuits fried by invisible waves. Communication grids collapsed, planes lost guidance, ships lost their signals, news networks fell into chaos. Scientists scrambled to explain the failures, blaming solar storms. But none of them knew the truth, that the beast stirring heart was the storm. In the hunter's control room, alarms screamed as the ship's own systems flickered. Sparks burst from panels. The crew scrambled to keep power steady, but the beast's pulse was everywhere, bending signals, corrupting software. One by one, screens went black until only a few remained, glowing weakly in the red light. "Commander, it's affecting everything," the officer shouted. "Even Earth. If this keeps up, the whole planet will go blind." Holt gritted his teeth, forcing calm into his voice. "We knew this wasn't an animal. Now we know it's worse. We need to understand its bindings. If humans chained it once, we can chain it again." At his words, Leanne raised her head, her pale face lit by a faint screen. "There's something nearby. It's not wreckage. A station. Old. Abandoned." The files hinted at it, but their ship adjusted course, pushing carefully through the beast's shadow. Soon the station appeared, a broken ring of metal half buried in orbit debris. Its surface was scarred by centuries of silence, panels shattered, lights dead, yet faint. Inscriptions remained, glowing with the same strange energy as the beast. Holt's stomach twisted as he read the fading letters across the hull. The same warning they had already seen, carved deeper this time. "Do not wake it." The hunters docked with the station, their boots echoing in its hollow corridors. Dust floated, weightless in the stale air. Inside, they found old consoles cracked with age, screens that flickered weakly when touched. And within the files they uncovered, the truth waited. Records spoke of a project long erased from history. A human experiment to build a living power source, to harness the energy of stars through flesh. The beast had been their success and their failure both. Too strong to control, too dangerous to kill, they had chained it here, hidden it in orbit, and sworn it would never awaken. The logs ended with desperate words: "It cannot be destroyed. If it stirs, burn everything to keep it bound. Do not wake it." The crew returned to their ship, their faces pale, their voices heavy. No one dared speak of what they had read. Holt stood at the viewport, watching the beast stretch further into the dark. Its heartbeat was stronger now, echoing like drums of war. Suddenly, the beast's ridges flared, and arcs of energy leaped from its body. One struck the abandoned station, tearing it apart in a silent flash of fire. Metal fragments spun into orbit, glowing red as they fell toward Earth's atmosphere. The hunter's ship rocked violently, alarms shrieking. The beast was awake enough to strike. "Commander," Rafe shouted, his hands white-knuckled on the controls. "If it keeps going, it will cripple every system Earth has. Cities will fall. Blind, we can't keep this hidden." Holt's eyes stayed locked on the beast, his voice cold. "No, we can't tell them. If the public knows what hangs above them, fear will destroy more than the beast ever could. We end this ourselves." The crew looked at him, some with disbelief, some with grim acceptance. They had always been hunters, shadows without names. They knew what it meant to fight battles the world would never see. The beast turned its gaze on them again, its golden eyes burning hotter, closer. Its massive body rippled as though testing its chains, the ancient bindings shuddering under strain. One by one, invisible links of energy cracked in the void. The creature had been sleeping for centuries. But its strength was returning, and as its heartbeat thundered louder, Holt realized the truth with a chill deep in his bones. They were not preparing for a fight to keep it asleep. They were standing at the edge of a war to keep humanity alive. The first stir of the beast had begun. The sky above Earth turned red that night. From the ground it looked like a second dawn, fire streaking across the heavens, flares of light flashing brighter than lightning. Civilians stared up from cities and deserts, some filming, some praying. News channels broke into panic, calling it a rare solar storm or a meteor shower. But none of their explanations could cover the truth. The beast was awake, and the hunters were already fighting it. The hunter's ship darted across the void, weapons flashing in silence. Energy beams cut through the black, explosions rippling across the creature's ridges. The first blasts seemed to work, pieces of its surface shattered, spinning into debris. But seconds later, the wounds closed, as if the beast's flesh was made of liquid fire. Scars burned bright and then sealed, leaving the hunters with nothing but wasted energy. Inside, the command deck alarm screamed. Holt stood rigid at the center, his voice cold and sharp as he ordered the attacks. "Keep firing. Test every weapon." Around him, his crew obeyed, their hands shaking on controls. Missiles streaked into the beast's body, detonating and blinding. Flashes! The beast answered with silence, then with a roar that no ear could hear, but every mind could feel. A wave of electromagnetic force slammed into the hunter's ship, throwing the crew from their stations, frying half their systems in one breath. For a moment, the ship drifted helpless, sparks bursting across consoles. Holt pulled himself up, his eyes burning. He could hear it inside his skull, that endless rhythm, a voice without words pressing into his thoughts. It was not rage, it was hunger. The beast was not simply defending itself, it wanted. On Earth, the effects were spreading. Entire regions. Lost satellite coverage. Planes were grounded, ships lost their navigation, stock markets froze. But what terrified civilians most were the dreams. All over the planet, people woke screaming, claiming they had seen golden eyes burning in the dark, a vast body coiled above their heads. They called it the Sci-Fi. Priests said it was a sign. Scientists scrambled for answers. Governments whispered about war. And still the hunters fought in silence, unseen, unpraised. Their battle hidden behind lies. A young pilot named Rafe gasped as he watched the beast through the viewport. "It's not just alive," he muttered. "Thinking. It's waiting for something." His words chilled the crew. None of them wanted to believe the beast had patience or purpose, but deep down they felt it too. Then, as the hunters regrouped for another strike, a discovery changed everything. Lien, the technician, had been scanning the beast's energy patterns, her fingers flying across cracked screens. She froze, staring at what the numbers revealed. "Commander," she whispered, her voice trembling, "this isn't an alien. Look at the frequencies. The structure, it matches old human energy designs. The beast, it's ours. It was made." Words silenced the room. Holt turned slowly, his eyes locked on her. "Explain." "Duh." "It's an engine," Lien said, her hands shaking as she pointed at the data. "A living one. Its energy veins, its core, they're built like reactors, not organs. Someone, long ago, tried to grow power out of life itself. They built this thing to hold the strength of a star, and when they lost control, they chained it here." The crew stared at her in horror. The idea was too vast, too monstrous, but deep down Holt believed it. He remembered the old logs, the warnings, the strange files buried in history. Humanity had done many dark things in secret, chasing power beyond their reach. This beast was one of them. A human creation abandoned, forgotten, hidden above their own sky. The beast roared again, its pulse shaking the ship. Holt clenched his fists. "If we made it, we can end it. Prepare the ignition charges." The hunters moved quickly, their ship weaving dangerously close to the beast's body. They planted devices along its ridges, each one glowing with deadly energy. The plan was simple: overload the beast's internal power and burn it from within. But simple did not mean safe. Maneuver risked being crushed by its sudden movements. Every second a gamble. As the last charge was placed, the beast reacted. Its golden eyes opened wide, fire spilling across its body like rivers of molten light. The orbs burned straight through the darkness, piercing the hunter's ship, stabbing into their minds. Crew members screamed, clutching their heads as visions poured in, visions of stars collapsing, of worlds burning, of ships swallowed whole by fire. The beast was showing them what it could do, what it had already done. Holt gritted his teeth, forcing himself to look into those eyes. He had fought wars on distant moons, faced fleets that darkened skies, but nothing compared to this. His voice shook as he gave the order. Detonate the charges. A heartbeat passed. Then the sky exploded. Flames ripped through the darkness, painting Earth's orbit in fire. Civilians below saw the heavens blaze red, brighter than anything they had ever witnessed. Some fell to their knees, believing the world was ending. Others cheered, thinking a new star was being born above them. The truth was stranger still. The charges tore deep into the beast, igniting its inner veins. For the first time, the creature screamed in pain. Sound was not sound at all, but a wave that shook every soul who heard it. All over Earth, people clutched their chests as the cry echoed through their dreams. The hunter's ship was thrown spinning, fire licking across its hull. Holt gripped the console, his face lit by the glow of destruction. But as the fire faded, his victory froze. Beast was still alive. Its body burned, molten cracks glowing across its ridges, but its heartbeat grew louder, stronger, as if the fire had not killed it, but fed it. Leanne's voice broke the silence, hoarse and terrified. "Commander." The ignition didn't end it. It woke it more. The crew stared at their screens, and Holt felt the truth claw into his chest. They had not destroyed the beast. They had lit the first spark, and now the sky itself was burning. The earth looked peaceful from above, but peace was a lie. Beneath the blue oceans and glowing cities, panic was spreading like wildfire. Millions stared at the red fire in the sky, believing the world was ending. News anchors shouted conflicting theories. Governments scrambled to hide the truth. All the while, the beast kept pulsing in orbit, its heartbeat shaking satellites and storming human dreams. On the hunter ship, silence filled the control room. Smoke drifted from shattered panels, the crew's faces pale and scarred by exhaustion. Their last attack had failed. Worse, it had done the opposite. The beast was not weakened, was awakened. Its body glowed like molten stone, its ridges burning with cracks of fire. The heartbeat was faster now, shaking their bones, rattling their minds. Commander Holt stood at the center, gripping the edge of the console. His eyes were hard, but deep inside, he felt the weight of doom. Leanne broke the silence first. "It is not dying because it was never meant to die. It was made to hold energy, to survive inside fire. We didn't destroy it. We fueled it." Words were quiet but sharp, echoing through the crew like a knife. "Then what do we do?" asked Rafe, his voice cracking. "We can't kill it. Every time we hit it, it only grows stronger. If it enters the atmosphere..." He stopped. He didn't need to finish. Everyone already knew. If the beast touched Earth, its energy would burn the world from the inside out. Holt looked at his crew. Fear filled their eyes, but there was still determination. Hunters were not trained to give up. They were trained to gamble when no one else dared. He turned back to the console, scanning through the old files Leanne had uncovered. The words returned again and again. "Do not wake it." But below that warning, buried deeper, were fragments of another set of instructions. They spoke of ignition sequences, control pulses, energy harmonics that could bend the beast's heart. Holt's mind raced. If this thing was built by humans, then maybe it was never meant to be killed. Maybe it was meant to be used. He spoke slowly, his voice heavy. "We can try to control it." The room erupted with voices. Some shouted in disbelief, others in anger. "Control it? That thing is a monster. It's not a tool. It's a nightmare. You saw what it did, what it showed us." Holt raised his hand, silencing them. His jaw was tight as steel. I also saw the truth. That thing is an engine, a living reactor, built to hold a star's fire. If we can ignite it the right way, not with weapons, but with its own design, we might force it into stability. It would not fall. It would burn in orbit as a new star. Dangerous, yes, but not deadly. Earth would live, and if we fail, Leanne asked quietly. Holt met her eyes. If we fail, Earth burns anyway. We are out of choices. The crew stared at him, the weight of his words sinking deep. This was the gamble: kill or control, risk or ruin. There was no safe path left. One by one, they nodded. Even in fear, they were hunters, and hunters never ran. They began their work. Lian and the other technicians dug into the old human code, translating fragments of data into commands the ship could send. Pilots maneuvered their battered craft closer to the beast, flying between its ridges of burning stone, dodging arcs of fire that burst from its body like solar flares. Every second was a risk.
Owie.
One wrong move, and the beast would crush them. The ignition sequence was not simple. They had to match the rhythm of the beast's heart, sending pulses of energy into its body, coaxing it like reins pulling a wild animal. Too soft, and it ignored them. Too strong, and it fought back. The crew sweated as they tuned each signal, their ship trembling with every beat. The beast roared again, its golden eyes snapping open, blasting their minds with visions. Holt staggered as he saw the images. Worlds burning, stars collapsing, chains of fire dragging across the void. The beast was not simply power. It carried memory, rage, hunger. It wanted to destroy. He forced himself to stand, clinging to one. Thought if humans had made it once, then humans could command it again. Lian shouted from her station. The sequence is working, it's slowing. For the first time, the beast's heartbeat faltered. Its glow dimmed slightly, its body shivering. As though caught between rage and submission, hope flickered in the crew's eyes. But then the beast's ridges exploded outward, energy surging like a storm. The ship spun as alarms shrieked, flames licking across the hull. Rafe screamed over the comms. It's resisting. It knows what. We're doing, Holt roared back. Hold the signal, force it. It poured everything into the ignition codes, every drop of power left in their ship. Systems fried, consoles burst into sparks, but the pulse kept hammering into the beast's core. The air inside the ship grew hot, choking, filled with smoke. Crew members collapsed from exhaustion, but still, the signals fired. Then suddenly, the beast screamed. It was a soundless cry, but every mind in orbit and on Earth felt it. Children woke crying, soldiers dropped their weapons, leaders fell silent. In their meetings, the sky itself seemed to tremble as the beast's body convulsed, its veins blazing like rivers of fire. For a moment it looked as if it would explode, tearing the planet apart with it. But Holt did not look away. He leaned forward, whispering like a prayer. Burn, damn you. Burn where we tell you. The beast's heartbeat wavered, slowed, and then, for the first time since it had awakened, it obeyed. Its body locked into a rhythm, steady and blazing. The flames on its ridges pulled inward, its glow stabilizing into a burning furnace. The crew collapsed in relief, gasping. Holt's eyes stayed fixed on the viewport. It wasn't over. The beast was not tamed, was only bound, its power caged. By human hands once more, but for now Earth lived, and above them all. A new fire burned in orbit, brighter than any satellite, sun that was not a sun, proof of humanity's most dangerous creation. The beast burned above the Earth like a false sun. Its body no longer drifted aimlessly, pulsed with controlled fire, bound by the ignition codes the hunters had forced into its core. For the first time since awakening, it was still, its heartbeat. Steady, its golden eyes closed. From the ground, billions of people gazed upward in awe. Some thought a new star had appeared, a sign from the heavens. Others believed it was the end of days. No one knew the truth, except the hunters who had chained it again. But the crew of the hunter's ship knew their victory was only fragile. The beast was not dead, and it was not truly obedient. It was waiting. Holt felt it deep in his chest each time the heartbeat echoed through his bones. The ignition codes were holding it, but barely. The power they had poured into the sequence had burned half their systems, drained every reserve, and pushed their ship to the edge of death. They had forced the beast to burn where they commanded, but it could slip free at any moment. Smoke drifted. Across the command deck, the crew sat slumped in exhaustion, faces lit by the red glow of the creature outside. Their hands shook, their voices were hoarse, but no one rested. They all knew the truth. The job was not finished. Leanne's voice was soft but urgent as she checked the readings. Commander, the ignition is unstable. It'll last hours, maybe days, but not forever. So hold it. We'd need a permanent stabilizer. Something stronger than what we have. Holt's jaw tightened. He already knew what that meant. Their ship did not have the strength to keep feeding the ignition codes, but it could give itself as fuel. The ship's reactor, if linked directly to the beast's core, could fuse with it, locking the rhythm forever. The cost was simple. The hunters would not survive. He turned slowly, his eyes meeting each crew member. They had followed him through every impossible mission, every shadow war, every nightmare. Now, they waited in silence, already guessing what he was about to say. It's the only way, Holt said quietly. We link the reactor. We burn with it. If we don't, the beast will break free and Earth will fall. No one argued. There was fear in their eyes, yes, but no hesitation. Hunters were not heroes, not saints. They were the ones sent to do what others would not. This was the end they had always known was possible. Rafe gave a shaky smile, his voice rough. At least the whole world will look up and see something beautiful, not the monster it really is. The crew moved quickly, preparing the final sequence. Wires sparked, consoles burned, but they forced the systems into alignment. Leanne worked faster than she ever had, her hands flying across controls, tears slipping down her face. Holt stood at her side, steady as stone, even as the weight of what they were doing pressed on him. Outside, the beast stirred, its eyes flickered. Open again, burning gold, glaring through the void. It felt what they were doing, fought against the control, its ridges flaring, flames rippling across its body. Earth's night sky blazed red once more, brighter than before. People screamed, cities blacked out as power grids failed. The beast's heartbeat thundered, shaking the planet, daring the hunters to hold it. Holt's voice rang across the deck, calm and final. Engage the reactor. The ship shuddered as its core linked to the beast's veins of fire. For a moment, everything froze. Then the blast came. The hunter's ship ignited in silence, its body tearing apart as its reactor poured into the beast. A wave of light-flooded orbit so bright it turned night into day for half the planet. The beast screamed one last time, a cry that echoed through every dream, every mind, every soul. Then its body froze, its flames locking into a steady burn. Where once the monster had writhed, now a blazing star hung in orbit. It pulsed with controlled fire, steady, eternal. A second sun chained above the earth. The hunters were gone, their ship erased, their names already fading into shadows. But their sacrifice remained written in the sky, burning where all could see. On Earth, people celebrated. They thought a new light had blessed their world, a gift of the cosmos. Scientists rushed to study it. Priests called it a miracle. Leaders used it as a symbol of hope. None of them knew the truth, that it had been a beast, a human-made monster, chained again by those who lived and died in silence. Far above, Holt's final words seemed to linger in the void, though no one was left to hear them. We are hunters. We hold the fire so others never burn. And so humanity went on, never knowing how close they had come to ending. They looked up and saw only light, but in the shadows of history, whispers would remain. Some would say a beast had been hidden in orbit, some would swear they felt its eyes in their dreams. But the truth was buried with the hunters who had given everything. In the end, the sky itself carried their memory. A false sun, lit by human hands, proving once again that humanity was not weak, not prey, not afraid of the dark. Humanity was the kind that could chain a star beast and ignite it into fire. And in that fire, their story lived forever.